Yes, sir.
There's been a seesaw in the last few years, federal funding for at least for anti-terrorist activities in the city. How do you keep a stable force related to preventing terrorism if the funding is going up and down and you never know from one year to the next?
Well, we don't get money really from the federal government for personnel. We get it for equipment, we get it for, some computer help, that sort of thing. But I'd like to get money for personnel, boots on the ground. We don't get that from the federal government. So we spend about $300 million a year on our counterterrorism efforts, which is serious money, certainly serious in this day and age. And we get virtually none of that money from the federal government. So, we're stable. We have, I think, the best counterterrorism program of perhaps any city in the world. And we're going to continue to do that because we have no choice. New York is at the top of the terrorist target list. Wish it wasn't so, but that's certainly the consensus of the intelligence community. So we're going to have to continue our efforts, not to in any way, supplant the federal government. We need them. We just, we're at greater risk than other cities, so we're supplementing what they do. But in terms of federal money, it's not coming to New York in the amount that it should come, and it's not coming in the form that we need it most. But that's the world in which we live. Yes, sir.
First, let me congratulate you on the great job you have been doing as the Commissioner of Police for the City of New York.
Thank you.
My question is, recently the governor of New York came out with some proposals, slash the budget of the state, approximately $5 billion. I would like to know how this slashing is going to affect your department.
Yeah, that's a good question, but the fact of the matter is the police department, get very little money from the state or the federal government. So, obviously money is fungible, so if they take money of someplace else, it may ultimately affect us. But directly it won't affect us because almost our entire budget is based on New York City tax levy funds. And when you try to cut other agencies, say in the city government, it's more complex because they get city money, they get federal money. So it's easy to look at the police department because we do have about a $4 billion budget a year, and we're going to save money. You go to the police department budget because it's all city money. So it makes an inviting target, so to speak, and that's one of the reasons why we are going down in headcount. So the answer to your question is, I see very little direct consequence, but we may have some indirect consequence. Money is taken from some other places, and it will ultimately affect us. It's the third question now.
I'm sorry.
Over. Yes, sir.
No, I was just wondering, is there some sort of program in place that the police department might reach out to the armed services when people get out of the military that they may become police officers, since there is such a
Yes, there's also a program that they can hire them for civilian programs as well, particularly people who are disabled. So we are engaged, we work with the Army in that regard, but we're not hiring now as part of the immediate problem. We are hiring about 100 police officers in January as a result of a federal grant. But again, this is, when you look at the numbers that I mentioned to you, we'll be down over 6,000 police officers, hiring 100, because we still have attrition. Now, because of the economy, our attrition rate has slowed down. Our retirement rate has slowed down. There's no question about it. Difficult to go out and get a job, so the cops are staying longer. But that will change. And, we'll have lag behind that, because it's not that, we're not going to be hiring before terms run probably, so that's a problem. We do work with the military services, and we do our own recruiting. And we've had as many as 400 police officers, over 400 police officers on active duty with the military. Now we're down to about a little over 200. So yeah, we are a contributor in that regard to the effort. Yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry in advance if I'm going to have you state some things that you might have already covered at the 102nd Community Council meeting. How can you help us as a community receive the help that we need from the 102nd Police Department in reference to the quality of life? Basically, I work with the block association, but this I'm stating as a concerned resident, not so much from the block association themselves, about the quality of life issue such as noise complaints. I understand crime is down, but it seems.
In what regard? How?
I guess so you're saying house parties, loud noise, so that's where the quality of life issues come into place for us as citizens in the neighborhood. When we have that issue arise, we need the help from the 102nd to help us get the individuals that are causing the quality of life problems to try to help it go away.
Well, I can tell you that I was a precinct commander of 4 precincts. And the community council meeting is a very important vehicle for me to find out what's going on. And people would come up to me either during the meeting or after the meeting and tell me specifically what the problem is. You have a new commander in the 2nd precinct. That meeting is going on tonight. You have your own meeting here. I think it's an important venue, an important vehicle for the department to hear what's going on. And I think the department, we pride ourselves on being responsive, and that's the place to raise those concerns. So my recommendation is to talk directly to the new commander about these issues. I don't know if you've done that already, but I know people there were praising him for his responsiveness. So that's what I would do.
Okay. Thank you.
Anything else? Yes, sir.
One slight question. I think you're doing a good job. My wife is in auxiliary in 106, so I sort of know a little bit what goes on. In the area behind my house, Equity Park, for some reason, has become...
Area behind your house?
The Equity Park, it's right next to, it's a public park right next to PS 60.
Yeah.
And for some reason, it's become a chronic location central. For the simple fact is every time they're having outrageous, bonfires or stripping cars or something in the park, we call in. Okay, send someone down, and on the radio you hear them, 102 Eddie, that's about a good 7 miles away, 30 seconds later calls it in as a 90 X-ray.
As a what?
As a 1090 X-ray unfounded call, and I don't know how he can
You've
get
got
from-
inside baseball information here. 1090 X-ray.
I don't know how that car could get from one side of the precinct all the way to the other in like 15 seconds flat. And basically, it seems to me the area behind my house, every time I call in for something, I don't call every night either. We're a chronic location. Ignore it, Central, they always call in. And I'm just wondering, how does one...
Right, so your issue is that the response is not fast enough?
It's not that it's not fast enough, is when the dispatcher assigns it to a particular R&P unit, it gets called back as there's nothing happening. Yet they're not there, they're on the other side of the precinct.
Oh, you're saying they're calling in a disposition without being there?
I mean, I got my bedroom window, there's a huge park right there, and there's nobody there.
And when has this happened?
Last time I wanted to call something in was about 3 or 4 weeks ago.
Okay.
They were
Well,
having a
what I would like
bonfire.
to do is get your address and name. I'd like to have somebody call you, because what we don't want and what we won't tolerate is to have somebody do precisely what you're talking about. If we get an assignment and somebody does not go there and calls in the disposition of it, that is bad practice, and that's not something that should happen. That's something that should be investigated. That's not how we play the game. It's either laziness.
It doesn't happen all the time, don't get me wrong, it does not happen all the time.
It shouldn't happen ever.
That's-
Ever. If you accept an assignment on radio, you have responsibility to go there and to see what the condition is. And if somebody is calling in a disposition from afar, that's at the least inappropriate. It shouldn't happen. So we like to know about it. I like